Hopefully we don't fall over here as far as the camera goes, because I have it balanced on the dashboard and I'm on a hill. And there it goes. Hey guys, what's going on? Daryl again here from the Neon Tourist YouTube channel. Today I figured I'd take you guys around with me so I can answer a question I've been seeing online. People are asking, how is life in Vegas? Or what's it like to live in Las Vegas? And I know we have a lot of videos that are detailing the Strip and Fremont Street and other different tourist things in town, which of course is the point of most travel vlogs and channels like ours where we're talking about traveling. But since people are asking the question, what's it like to live here or how is life here, I thought I would show you. So what we're going to do is we're going to drive over to one of our shopping centers that we have in my neighborhood, and I can show you what it's like, and you can decide whether or not it's similar or dissimilar to where you're located. Now, as I've mentioned in previous videos, having a vehicle is pretty much a requirement living in Las Vegas. Even the short distance to my neighborhood shopping center is up and over a pretty sizable overpass bridge, and there's a lot of heavy traffic. There are sidewalks, but with the way that people drive out here, even on a sidewalk, it's not always the safest, simply because people aren't paying attention, people are going really fast. I live on one of the northern outskirts of the city, so there's a lot of people that are coming in that's traffic off the highway, and they still have that highway speed mindset even when they're off the freeway. So you have a lot of people cutting corners at like 80 miles an hour. And it's also interesting to note that where I'm sitting right now, I'll get a shot of this probably here in a little bit, but it's an overcast day. Also, May the 4th be with you. Happy May the 4th, as it is today. This morning, the Lovers and Friends Festival was canceled due to a wind advisory, and it's presently about 83 degrees, but I'm looking at a mountaintop full of snow. And that's something that's kind of, I don't know if it's unique to Vegas, but it's definitely an interesting benefit to living here. Is when you want snow, you just have to drive up the hill to the mountain to be in snow. And when you're tired of snow, you just come back down to the city and you no longer have to deal with it. So a big part about living in Vegas is construction. What I'll show you here is that I am, like I said, in a residential neighborhood right off the highway. Most of the larger residential neighborhoods will be off the highway. While you're looking for houses here in Las Vegas, freeway access is actually listed as one of the benefits to purchasing a home. So in some cases, homes will actually be more expensive if they have easy access to a freeway. We're gonna go for a ride. So you'll see this vehicle here weaving through these cones. So this street, for example, was open, I think, for maybe an entire 3 days before they closed it down again to start building an overpass a little bit farther down. But even this parking lot, as you can see, is blocked off from being accessed because the shopping center here is still largely under construction. So life in Vegas, I would imagine, is like anywhere else in the country once you get away from the Strip. And we are about 15, 20-ish miles from the Strip right now. We are very, very north. For those of you who are familiar with the area, I'm up in Skye Canyon, which is actually at the base of Mount Charleston. Mount Charleston is the closest easily accessible mountain to Las Vegas to go play in the snow. The shopping center I'm in is actually fairly new. A lot of the stores here aren't even open yet. In fact, there's a sign out front that says that this Jersey Mike's I'm driving by right here will be opening in 4 days, but I think I've said that for a couple days now, so I'm not sure exactly when it's going to open. One thing that I'm almost certain is different about living in Vegas versus other parts of the country is the presence of small casinos in the strip malls. So I've mentioned I'm in a shopping center. I've mentioned there's stores that are being put in here. There's a few restaurants that are coming in. I'm next to a gas station. There's a McDonald's in here. There's an El Pollo Loco. There's a Dutch Brothers, just like you would have most other places. But we also have a Dottie's. These Dottie's locations are all over the city. And what they are is just a little locals casino. They have slot machines for those people that smoke. They have cheap cigarettes. They have drinks. They're open 24 hours. So if you're a local, or, well, don't have to be a local, but if you're in a neighborhood and you want to go gamble, you want to go get a drink, you don't want to go to a larger resort style casino like one of the station casinos or Aliante, then you have Dottie's, and they are popping up everywhere. Now, as you could imagine, most of the bars that we have here in the city have gaming in them of some kind. Usually they just have slot machines actually in the bar top rather than having the standalone machines that you might be used to seeing at casinos. But they specifically make slot machine units for going into bars. Now, the next place that I'm going over to here is a Smith's. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Smith's line of grocery stores, they have them around the country, but they're not all called Smith's. Some of them are called Kroger. Some of them are called Ralph's. For those of you who still have a Food for Less, that's also the same company. It's all the same chain of store. It's just, ours just happened to be Smith's. Now, the one up here in Sky Canyon is what's known as a Smith's Marketplace. And anybody who lives here doesn't really call it a Smith's Marketplace. We all call it a Super Smith's. Probably because Super Walmart was a thing before it all was just Walmart, and eventually the Walmart dropped the super from the name. Now they're just Walmart. At least here they are. There's no longer a difference between a regular Walmart and a super Walmart. The super Walmart just had a supermarket in it, but now they all have some type of grocery section, at least the ones that are still existing here that I've seen. All right, we're gonna see if this will actually hold up there. I'll try this gimbal out. So this will be kind of interesting. So like I was saying, going to the Smith's Marketplace is going to be kind of odd. It's a little bit different than the other grocery stores you might have seen. I don't know how this is going to, hopefully that gimbal's doing its job. Interestingly enough, one thing that might be different is that we have a Starbucks in. What is that catching on to? We actually have a Starbucks in the store. Also in the store, I think I've seen this at other places around, they have a sushi station here, where it's a live sushi bar. This location has a bar, like an actual full-on bar. Like a legit, actual, complete bar. So yeah, that's one difference that you might have from your other locations. Also here, we have an entire alcohol section. I'm sure they sell alcohol in other parts of the country. I just don't know if it has to be at a specific liquor store if your grocery store just has an entire alcohol section, but uh, this store has an entire alcohol section. Again, I hope this is working. I have no idea, but we're trying to pick up what we can. So it's always interesting seeing some of the looks we get while I'm out, because I literally am in a residential neighborhood. It's not like being down on the strip where everybody is filming. Here, nobody is filming, so I'm like completely alien right now. I know I'm not doing too many pans around here. I'm trying to respect everybody's, privacy with shopping and things like that. So I'm not trying to be rude and record people just out doing their everyday thing at the store, but I did want to show you the store. Oh, actually, there is one other thing. So the other thing is, this store has a William Hill Sportsbook and slot machines. So you can actually gamble while you're at the grocery store. So it's like, yeah, I live in Vegas. Of course we have slot machines in the grocery store. We also have an emergency room in the parking lot. We have an animal hospital, another bar, the Sky Bar and Grill. Back there we have a Big Boy Tavern, which is another bar. On top of the bar that was in the Smiths, so 3 bars within one center. The Dottie's, you can barely see down there to the right of the Tropical Smoothie, but that's a bar across the street. Or rather, a little mini locals casino. State Farm, Domino's, so just your regular shopping center with a few added bonuses. Now, I know I'm just showing you the shopping center up here in Skye Canyon, but this type of setout is actually copy-pasted pretty much everywhere around the city. You'll find shopping centers that have the anchor store, whether it's a grocery store, Walmart, what have you, and they're usually surrounded by several other restaurants and bars and Dottie's locations or PT's locations or other type of little gaming-focused bar-type establishments. Even the ER over here, even though, again, this is just the ER in Skye Canyon, they now have these pop-up emergency room locations around the city. Makes it really convenient if you don't have the time to get to a hospital or if you need medical attention right now and you don't want to have to wait for an ambulance to take you halfway across the city. They have been getting better about getting hospitals up in different places around town. I think the newest one is the West Henderson Hospital out off of St. Rose near Las Vegas Boulevard. That one I don't even think is open yet, but I just saw that the other day. And so as the population centers are growing, we do need more medical facilities, and they are staying on top of that, which is great. And these ER locations like we have here in these shopping centers, they're satellite locations to the larger hospitals. So I've personally had to have been seen at this ER about 3 different times. And when you go in, you go through an admissions process on a little robot that has an iPad that connects you with the admissions at the main hospital that it's a satellite of. And then you do all your paperwork and everything there. And then they obviously treat you here. And then if it's a bigger issue, like one time I went in and I was having stomach pains and it turned out that I needed to have my gallbladder removed. They can't do that here. So then I eventually had to go to the main hospital so I could be seen by a surgeon. But it is convenient to have this here, especially if you're feeling terrible and you need some quick relief. Being able to have an emergency room literally in the same parking lot where your grocery store, and in my case, pharmacy is, then it's really invaluable to have that. Now, I am a Vegas native, born and raised. I've never lived anywhere else. So everything I'm showing you, if it seems redundant or if you're like, yeah, I have that where I'm at, that's awesome. I have no frame of reference, unfortunately. I've only ever lived in Vegas. So what I'm showing you is just what we have here. But it's the only way I know how to answer the question about what it's like to live in Vegas. But I've just shown you a shopping center Let me show you some of the other things. Okay, I know I probably need to clean my windshield, so please forgive me on this one, but I'm going to try to drive around a little bit and show you what I can. Hopefully we don't fall over here as far as the camera goes, because I have it balanced on the dashboard and I'm on a hill. And there it goes. Okay, so that was a fun little recovery. You can kind of see over there on the left, that's another doctor's office, the WHASN. It's a woman's health doctor. So if you were planning on moving to Vegas and you were looking for a primary care physician, I mentioned in one of my posts on Reddit we were talking about medical things here in Las Vegas, and that location is accepted by, or that location accepts the insurance that most of the employers here are going to be providing you. What I thought I would do is show you a residential neighborhood. So now, like I've mentioned, I'm up in Sky Canyon. You can clearly see the Sky Canyon sign here. Something about this neighborhood, though, is we are on the very far north end of the city. You can see that mountain up ahead. That's actually open desert north of Vegas. The desert you're actually looking at is part of the Paiute Reservation that sits north of the city. And you'll see coming up here on the left, there is a wooden frame. And that is because that neighborhood is under construction. And like a lot of neighborhoods, as you get closer to the outside of the city, everything is still being built up, as opposed to some of the more established cities around the country that haven't had major development in years. Vegas constantly is having major development. These houses here, I'm sure in about 5 years, will be completely passed up by even more neighborhoods. If you can see those houses ahead there across that dirt field, that is actually Kyle Canyon Road. So for those of you who are familiar with Kyle Canyon Road, know about that being the road that goes up to Mount Charleston, at least the closest road that goes up to Mount Charleston. There's also Lee Canyon Road. That is now all being developed with housing developments and suburbs. I think the one over there is called Talus, actually. Kind of like a eagle talon, but it's Talus. You see these here, over here on the right now, this Tri-Point Homes. This is all dirt. There's some houses on the far right side of the lot over here, but they are, see, like no construction traffic. Like you could turn in here, which I'm going to do just briefly, show you. So you see here, this is all still under construction. I'll turn that way a little bit so you can kind of see it. Yeah, that's all still being built. Let's see if I can cut this to the left here before I messed up. And I made it, yay. But yeah, there you go. More dirt, more construction equipment. There's the view of those mountains. Really pretty out here, but everything's under construction. I can tell you a year ago, this wasn't standing here. This was all just dirt. And in the past 365 days, they now have houses, they have walls. This is all new. You used to be able to drive down the end of this road and go all the way down by this retention basin down there and do a little bit of off-roading, or playing out in the desert in your vehicle, whatever. Because sometimes it's fun just to go off-road and play with the all-wheel drive and just drive around and hit the vehicle trails. But yeah, can't do that anymore because now we have this barricade. And you might be asking, why am I showing you this? I'm showing you construction in a residential neighborhood. Well, this is part of life living in Vegas. If you're going to either move here or you're just trying to get an idea of what it's like to live here. As you see, there's more of the state flower here in the middle of the road with the orange traffic cones. These are absolutely everywhere. You cannot get away from them. There is no semblance of a world where traffic cones don't exist in Las Vegas for any time soon. Literally, as soon as they get done building something, it'll be open, cone-free, maybe a couple days, if that. And they'll put cones up again on something they just completed to start building something else, or to build something that goes across the thing they just built. Or they've widened the highway, and the highway was down to 2 lanes for almost 2 years, and then they have new lanes now, so they've taken a 3-lane highway up to a 6-lane highway, and now all the new lanes are open and all the old lanes are closed because now they have to resurface the highway. Things like that. Coming down here, you'll see even more. So this is an interesting situation here, because this happens a lot too. You have houses like this very massive house here on the right that's still under construction. Within a neighborhood where right here on the other side, you have houses that are already occupied. People are already actively living in those homes while the construction is going on literally 2 doors down. Here you have this nice open view of the city. I don't know if you can see with the haze, it's kind of windy today, but that mountain straight ahead in the distance is Sunrise Mountain. And for those of you who are buffs like me that know the little bit of a mess up the U.S. Geological Survey did when they stamped the mountains, there's a mountain that is the closest to Las Vegas on the east side called Frenchman Mountain, but because the sun rises behind it, people refer to that as Sunrise Mountain. And when the U.S. Geological Survey put the stamp in it, they stamped it as Sunrise Mountain, but it's not. Sunrise Mountain is actually the mountain that is behind Nellis Air Force Base. The mountain that was stamped Sunrise Mountain is actually Frenchman Mountain. Frenchman Mountain is also the mountain that is sitting on top of a fault line just outside of Las Vegas. There's actually even a dormant volcano over there known as Lava Butte that you can see the lava rocks and things on when you're driving over on that side of town. It's very obvious that it's a volcano when you're looking at it. Once you know it's a volcano, because it's the shape of it, and obviously it's covered in lava rock, so it's kind of a dead giveaway that, hey, there was lava here. It hasn't erupted in I don't know how many thousands of years, or if it's millennia, I don't know. I'm not that far advanced in the actual history of that particular volcano. I just know that it hasn't gone off long enough for them to build this whole city. Here's also something kind of interesting, I'm sure you're noticing. Right side of the street, you have stylized street lights. Left side of the street, you have city issue street lights. And this is just a difference of housing development. It's a difference of builders. So the builders on the right side wanted to make it all super fancy. The builders on the left side didn't care. They saved money on street lighting. But again, just another part of being in Vegas. So we do have those flashing turn signals on the left-hand turn lanes. So you don't have to be stuck at a light now on most lights. Those have actually only come out in about the past 10 years or so. At one point it was just always like your standard, if the light was red, you were stuck there. Now it's almost every street light in the city is left-hand yield on green with the flashing yellow arrow. Straight ahead is Lone Mountain. You see that hill in the middle of the street. That is most popularly known for its hiking trail, but it's been recently the center of a controversy that's happening here locally because the the Mormon Church wants to build a new temple at the base of Lone Mountain, which would then obstruct the view of a lot of different people that moved over there specifically for the nature views or the view of Lone Mountain. And the big debate about that is that the Mormon Church has had a massive temple in the valley for longer than I've been around, over on the east side of Las Vegas. And if you know anything about the neighborhoods of Las Vegas, you know that the east side is falling into infamy as being one of the worst neighborhoods in the city. So they no longer want their temple over there, which I can understand. But then again, I also understand the people over here by Lone Mountain that spent all that money for those houses with that view, and now someone wants to put a building right in the middle of it. Speaking of, here you go, something you don't think you would see a lot of in Vegas, but right there is an LDS church. We do have churches here, even though it is Sin City, but they are spread out, and something that, if you haven't been able to tell by just what I was saying, the largest religious congregation in Las Vegas by far is the LDS religion and the Mormon Church. They are the ones who founded Las Vegas initially, when Las Vegas, before it was even an incorporated city back in 1905, Las Vegas was literally just a Mormon-run rest stop along the way. And then they, when they built the railroad through the Vegas Valley, eventually that led to more people settling here to work on the railroad, and it sprouted out, and then eventually the mob caught on and was like, oh hey, we have this huge opportunity in the middle of the desert, we could put up a casino. And then Bugsy Siegel came out here and built the Flamingo as the first casino on what is now the Strip, and a lot of other mob-controlled casino owners came out and followed suit, and that led to the glory days of mob-controlled Vegas, where the Rat Pack reigned supreme. And that's what a lot of people, the old timers, refer to as classic Vegas, or the good old days, or old Vegas, or however you want to say it. But there was a time when the mob ran everything. Now we've had a Goodman sitting in office as the mayor of Las Vegas for as long as I can remember. And if anybody's ever seen the movie Casino, Oscar Goodman was in that as a mob attorney, because that's actually what he was by trade. He was an attorney for the mafia back in the day, so he essentially played himself in the movie. And then eventually he ran for mayor of Las Vegas, and he won. And he was the mayor of Las Vegas to the end of his term limit. And then the mayor immediately following him was his wife. So Carolyn Goodman's been the mayor of Las Vegas since Oscar took over. She's now reaching the end of her term limit this year. So I'm not sure who the new mayor of Las Vegas is going to be. I haven't seen the ballot yet, but I've heard rumblings that their son is going to run for the position, and I'm almost certain that if he does, he will most likely win by a landslide, because people in Vegas tend to like having a Goodman in office. And the reason why is because, for whatever your political stance is, or think about how you like policy to go one way or another, the Goodmans have historically been about Vegas being a place for people to come and have a good time and enjoy themselves. So a lot of the decisions they make, or rather don't make, allow that to continue to happen. They don't overregulate certain fun industries or overtax certain entities to the point where they wouldn't be able to operate or wouldn't bring more tourism into the city. So, even if you hate the Goodmans, there are some trade-offs to having them in office, because typically their interests lie with the longevity of the city of Vegas more often than it's serving personal interests. Now, I'm not a politician, I'm not a political major. I'm sure there's more to it. I tend to avoid it. I try to avoid getting into super in-depth conversations about politics and religion and things like that would just make people upset and fight, because we have a lot of everybody fighting over everything now. A lot of times I can't even get through a Reddit comment section and make it 10 comments without somebody fighting over something. So I just try to make sure everybody has a nice positive environment where they can go and enjoy things. But the Goodmans being mayor has been part of life in Vegas since I've been around. I'll tell you, I'm 37. I've lived here since I was born in 1987, and as long as I can remember, there's been a Goodman as mayor. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over this overpass and get back on the freeway, head up north again to where I originated today in my neighborhood, and you'll see more traffic cones. Actually, you might be able to see some over here. Maybe not, probably just out of view. But there's this van here that's turning right in front of me. There's some traffic cones behind them. Maybe you saw them when I was rolling up. There's just construction everywhere. The meta of being in Vegas is essentially that it's a giant active construction project that people live and work in, and that people come here on their vacation. This is definitely the place to come to if you like seeing orange cones. If I sound like a broken record, it's because that's all we ever hear about or complain about here as locals primarily, is the construction on everything, constantly, all the time. But weather-wise, today is an odd overcast day with wind. The wind isn't what's odd. It's always windy here. I used to think when I was a kid I could control the weather because I thought all I had to say during the summer was, I'm going swimming, or I'm going to do some water-based activity, and it would immediately go from a 3-mile-an-hour breeze to a 45-mile-an-hour gust, seemingly within seconds. So, I was just like, oh, maybe I can control the weather. All I have to do is say I'm going swimming, and then the wind will blow. But never well enough to fly a kite, mind you. The wind can't pick a direction here. They say winds come out of the northwest or the northeast, but anybody who's stood anywhere ground level in the city can tell you that those wind productions are from a higher altitude. When you're on the ground, it seems like the wind's blowing from every direction. I can't tell you how many kites I've attempted to fly growing up, even as an adult, that have just been trashed by the wind, just picking them up and slamming them into the ground because it won't blow one direction. Here we go, double penalty in work zones. But the fun fact is that every zone is a work zone. And you see that this person here almost took off my front end because I didn't immediately get on the freeway and floor it like I was trying to qualify at a quarter mile. And more orange, yay. But we do have some nicer things in town. When you get deeper into the cities, we do have parks, we have fishing, we have nature trails everywhere, especially on the outside of the city, where you can hike through the desert, see different things. Like just down the street from here, there is a fossil bed, the Tule Springs National Monument, where they have like woolly mammoths and actually lots of ocean fossils, because this area millions of years ago was underwater. And I don't think I have much more to add to it that wouldn't be just mundane, everyday stuff. Traveling around, like I said, pretty much requires a car. Everything's pretty stretched out in between population centers. You can go to a population center like I was at, like that shopping center, and walk around and do a lot of stuff. You could spend all day over there if you wanted to. It's of course nicer at places that have bigger anchors. We have places like Centennial Center that even have car dealerships mixed in with the retail and the restaurants and things. But it's all essentially the same type of stuff, just copy and paste it over and over and over again. Other than that, living in Vegas, I believe, is just living like living anywhere else. You know, we have residential neighborhoods, we have regular lives, we don't all live in casinos. And for the most part, it's pretty nice. It's when you go down to the touristy areas, it can get crazy. So if you're not used to it like we are, you know, that's why a lot of locals avoid it. But, you know, if you embrace the fun atmosphere, it's not that bad. Well, anyway, until next time, this is Daryl with the Neon Tourist YouTube channel. Safe travels.